Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to talk books here. And I was thinking the other day of what kind of maybe new videos I wanted to do on my channel, and you know what, I started doing something on my movie channel, which is I'm gonna start ranking movies from different franchises. And I was like, I've never done a ranking video on my book channel, so maybe it's time to implement it here as a small section. And of course, the first one had to be a video about Riley Sager. So we're going to be talking about the author, about his works, my ranking, my thoughts on the books, and it's all going to be spoiler free.
It's coffee time.
I know some of you guys have been meaning to pick up Riley Sager books. Maybe some of you already own a couple of his books, but you don't know where to start, or you don't know which one might be more fitting for you. So I am here to tell you what the books are about, what kind of reader I would recommend the book to, depending on what kind of themes or things you like to see in books. And maybe this will help you find out which one could be the perfect Riley Sager for you. If you love books and horror, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any more coffee times. Let's talk about first about the main, Riley Sager. So that is actually a pen name, and he used to be a writer and editor at a journal and also a graphic designer. However, now he is a full-time writer because obviously after the success of his debut novel Final Girls, he has been focusing now on writing thrillers that are very close to horror, and that might be why I enjoy them so much. So under his real name, Tom Ritter, he actually has some published works, some thrillers that I didn't know of, and I'm definitely going to check them out. He did mention in an interview that he changed the name because it was what the publisher kind of advised him to do, because this way he would be coming into the business as a new writer, and that gave him more chances of being spotted, and we can all see that it actually worked. In my case, I fell in love with Riley Sager after I read 2 books by him. So I came across him by chance. I was participating in the buzzword readathon, and one of the buzzwords was lie, and I was just searching for books that had that word, and I came across The Last Time I Lied, which is his second published work. I picked it up and I really enjoyed it because it was a thriller that kind of felt like a really moody, almost horror movie, even though his books are not horror, but they do have a lot of creepy elements. And I decided to pick up the next book by him, and I just kept falling more and more in love with the way that he writes his characters and the atmosphere that he gives us in his novels. His books, even though they have complete different themes, they kind of use the same formula that really works for me. We have really compelling characters. We have this feeling of, you know, I cannot put this book down. I need to turn the page. I need to keep reading because there's many twists and turns in his stories. And he's also a writer that, despite not writing horror, he does give us a lot of elements, and you can totally tell that he is a fan of horror himself. And even though, like I said, it's not horror, but the stories are really dark and twisted, and some of the plot twists that I have seen have been slightly disturbing. So it's definitely for people that love horror but maybe would like to read something lighter, like a thriller. Now, I personally did not read his works in the publication order. However, I have left here for you guys the list of the books in publication order with the corresponding years so that you know which ones came first and which ones came later. Ranking his 5 novels written under the name Riley Sager was not easy at all. It was not an easy task because I really enjoyed all 5 of them. I gave them between 5 and 4 stars, which already tells you that this is an out by author for me because I have enjoyed everything he's put out there. Of course, you always have 1 or two that you love more than others for subjective reasons mostly. So here is my personal ranking. In number 5, we have The Last Time I Lied. In this story, we are going to follow the story of Emma. She is going to return to a summer camp that she attended when she was a teenager, and now she is returning 15 years later as a counselor. However, she also has other hidden reasons for returning to the camp. When she was there, the other girls that shared a cabin with her disappeared one night, never to return again. The mystery was never solved and the girls were never found. So she's hoping that returning to the camp is going to help her remember what happened that night. The summer camp setting is done so well, and we're also going to see Emma return to her memories when she was a teenager and kind of let us know the friendships that she made at camp and also the atmosphere achieved at this camp. It's just, you know, the descriptions that the author give us, it just feels like you're inside of a horror movie sometimes. We can see already in this book a pattern that the author is going to use throughout his other novels, which is to tell a story from the present but also through flashbacks from the past. This is something that I really enjoy when done correctly, and I love the way that he is kind of slowly revealing secrets and mysteries and giving us glimpses of the truth, allowing the reader to put the pieces of the puzzle together as we are uncovering more and more from the story. I just love this kind of, you know, double timeline. It's something that is really appealing to me, so it's something that if you love, you might also enjoy from his stories. Of course, Emma is going to start making some discoveries that are going to put her life in danger. I would say that I recommend this book to people that love your typical summer camp setting, you know, near a lake with a lot of atmosphere. Also, if you love stories about past friendships. And remember that sometimes a lie can come back to haunt you. So in place number 4, we have some of other people's favorites, but for me it just made it to number 4, and that is Home Before Dark. We follow here Maggie. Her father wrote a book called House of Horrors, and it is inspired on a family house where they were living when she was a child, and she always thought that her father's book, the story was just bogus, that it was just a fiction and that it never happened. However, now as an adult, she inherits this house and decides to go there to revisit the place to see if she can trigger any memories from the past, and of course because she really wants to know if anything from what her dad wrote is even true, since she does not believe in ghosts or anything like that. Now, when she moves there, she starts to realize that a lot of unsettling things are happening in the house, and she will be confronted with memories from her past that she has suppressed. As the story progresses, it gets darker and we start to feel like the house really gets hostile, creepy, it even feels dirty. And this is a slow burner, and it's going to take its sweet time to reveal one by one the secrets that are hiding behind these house walls. In this story, we are also going to have 2 different timelines, and we are going to hear the experience both from Maggie's perspective as well as from her father's, which was really interesting to me. And you're even gonna have here an experience of a book inside a book, because you're even gonna see snippets of the book that Maggie's father wrote, House of Horrors. And for me, this was really rewarding. I love the way that the author slowly started interconnecting everything between the 2 stories and how we got to experience the house and the things that happened there from 2 different people. Like, I think that brought a lot more of depth into the story, and I really loved it. This, of course, is going to be one for people that love haunted house stories as well as ghost stories in a more kind of classic sense. It's also going to be for people that love family mysteries and solving all of this mystery of something that happened many years ago. And also, good luck to you guys sleeping next time you see a shadow inside your house. In place number 3, we find Final Girls, which was Riley Sager's debut novel, and this one is following exactly what the title implies, Final Girls. And we follow, in this case, Quincy, the survivor of a massacre that happened, very tropey, in a cabin in the woods, and she was the only survivor of this bloodbath that happened. Years later, she is kind of moving on with her life after that really traumatizing past, but she's going to find herself again in danger. This all happened to her 10 years ago when she was in a vacation with some friends in this cabin in the woods, and now in the present time she has become what the media call a final girl. There is now a support group for final girls where she will meet two other girls that survived such a cruel blood massacre. Even though Quincy is now in a happy place, she has a partner, she has found a hobby that keeps her mind occupied and happy, everything is going to take a turn when one of the other final girls gets brutally murdered and danger is gonna come back knocking at her door. Of course, this book is also told from two different timelines. We follow Quincy in the present and we follow her with flashbacks from the past of that night in the cabin in the middle of the woods. And because she had been suppressing all the memories from that day, her mind had basically removed all of her memories from that night due to the trauma. She finds herself now finding out exactly what happened that night, and we as the reader are going to experience what it is for her to learn what actually happened that night, what happened to her. And I just absolutely love this double timeline, like I've mentioned before, and in this particular case I just absolutely loved it because we went back to the night of the massacre, and it was fantastic how he described that. It just felt like a real slasher. Of course, this is going to be a good read for you if you enjoy 80s and 90s slashers, and also if you love a strong female lead. Will Quincy survive the second time around? You'll have to read it to find out. We are now in the last top two, and this was such a hard decision because I love these two so much. They are my two absolute favorites, and it was really hard, but I decided to put in place two, Lock Every Door. In this book, we're going to follow an apartment sitter that took a job at a very well-known New York apartment building that has a lot of rules, like you cannot have company, nobody can sleep in the room with you, you're not supposed to bother any of the other guests from the hotel, like many rules. But Jules really needs the money, so she decides to take the job. I mean, at the end of the day, she only has to stay there for a little bit, and she is staying at a luxury apartment and she's being paid for it. But when she moves in there, she starts to realize that the other people that live in this apartment complex, they are kind of weird, they seem off, something seems to be happening, and she meets another apartment sitter called Ingrid, and they kind of start a friendship. However, one day Ingrid mysteriously disappears, and Jules is going to try to find her and see what happened to her, why she really disappeared. The story starts to get really creepy the more we learn about the background and the history of this Bartholomew building, and honestly, this has been one of the darkest twists that I have seen Riley Sager deliver, and the building kind of becomes a character itself because it is just so well described. And this was just one of those thrillers that I don't think anybody saw that twist coming, and it was just fantastic when it came. If you love thrillers that are based on cities and buildings like hotels, if you love things similar to the Cecil Hotel, I think that you will enjoy this one. And be careful letting in your friendly neighbors. And of course, in number one, we have Survive the Night, which is Riley Sager's latest release. We are following our main character, Charlie. She desperately wants to leave campus. 2 months ago, her roommate and best friend Maggie was killed by the campus serial killer. Unable to move on in campus, she thinks the best thing to do for her is just to go back home and take a break. So she goes to the campus ride board where she meets Josh, that is looking looking for somebody to share the long car ride back to Ohio, and they meet and decide to leave campus together. So of course we have here a main character that is going to take a big risk getting into the car with a stranger. We have our two main characters now inside a car on the way back home, and of course there is some small talk, there are some things that are being said that sound kind of iffy, and Charlie starts to get scared and consider if Josh could potentially be the campus serial killer. This book is going to give us a full-on cat and mouse game, and it is a book based on the 90s, so we don't have phones, we don't have that type of, you know, like technology in the cars, and basically you're going to feel how claustrophobic it is. The tension works so well. We have two people trapped in a car in the middle of the night in a nearly empty highway with literally nowhere to run. Some people have criticized the character of Charlie in this book because she is very naive, very stupid indeed, to get into a car with a stranger without really knowing him, especially when there is a serial killer on the loose. However, I think it's kind of believable. You know, we've all been young, we've all been teenagers, we've all made stupid decisions. Me, myself, I put myself sometimes in situations that now when I look back, they were dangerous and I was being stupid and naive. And I just feel like it's part of who she is, and I don't think it is a case where the character is just too dumbed down. I just feel like that is who she is in this situation, and she's really desperate to get back home. So for me, I also love to see the character arc of Charlie because she does change a lot through the book, and you will have to read it to find out, but I just didn't see it as something that bothered me. This book was such a page turner. I feel like this is the one that got me the most addicted, and that is what I decided to put it in place one, because I really could not stop reading this story. There is a lot of elements introduced in the conversations and a lot of things that are making you question all the time who's telling the truth, who's lying, who's good, who's bad, what else is going on here. And it was just so interesting to me. Like, I just needed to know, and everything was done so well that you really have not a clue until you get to the end. Some things you might see slightly coming, but as it is usual from Riley Sager, there's a lot of punches that you're gonna get in the face. I feel this one is going to be perfect for people that love true crime stories in general. This one felt very much like a true crime story, something that actually happened in real life. Probably that's also one of the reasons why I also put it in the first place, because for me this was such a roller coaster of emotions. I also love when books have me completely confused and clueless when it comes to the twists and turns, and this one definitely did it for me. So if you want to pick it up, buckle up for this one. But just for fun and giggles, I went ahead to take a look at Goodreads to see what you guys had decided that was the best and the worst Riley Sager book, and I was really kind of confused to find out that my opinions are very different from popular opinion, I guess. So as you can see here, these are the, you know, according to Goodreads, the most loved and least loved Riley Sager books. However, Survive the Night has not been out that long, so of course it has a lot less reviews at the moment, so anything can change. Now for my final thoughts, I think that one of the things that make me love the kind of formula, the structure of Riley Sager's stories and his thrillers is that they all seem in one way or another to be a story of a final girl, of somebody that has to survive some sort of situation that she's been thrown into. And there's a lot of psychological kind of horror, you could say, also in the stories, because there is always something from our main characters past, something that is hidden, that is secret, that our main character doesn't remember, that they discover about themselves, that makes these stories so compelling to me. And also, of course, as I've mentioned before, I love stories that are told from different timelines. I feel like Riley Sager could be kind of the American Horror Story of thrillers, because all of his books are including different horrors from real life, and every book has a complete different take, a complete different story, but in a way it just feels like we are kind of in the same universe. And yeah, I would call this the SAGERverse. Riley Sager has mentioned that the rights for Final Girls were bought by Universal, and The Last Time I Lied was bought for a potential TV show, but he does not make any promises. Of course, we don't know if these projects are going to see the light of day, but I, for one, would be really excited. I hope you guys had fun with this different type of video. I would love to make more of these in the future, more rankings of books and authors. So let me know down below if you enjoyed it, and if you have any ideas or specific, book series or authors that you would like to see me ranking. Thanks so much, you guys, for always watching, and I really appreciate your support. Let me know if you have read Riley Sager yourself and what you think about his thrillers. Let's talk about it in the comments. Please remember to give the video a big thumbs up for support before you leave, and I hope to see you all guys, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!